Hello, welcome to Northwood's Renaissance. Before you, we have an odorless, colorless, tasteless liquid, water. Here, we have an odorless, colorless, tasteless solid. The Glock 17 Gen 3 RTF2 9mm pistol. I'd wanted to do some reviews of some of the firearms I had. I thought you guys might be interested in that. And it seemed like the best place to start was the very common Glock 17. It's been around since 1982 in one form or another. It's very common. But this one's a little bit different, and I wanted to talk you through the basic features, some of the modifications that I've made to it, and then two of the unique things about it that kind of set it aside, make it sort of a collector's item. It doesn't seem to have a particularly high value, but I assume over the years this will attract a little more interest in your common Glock Gen 3. So let's have a look. Before we get too far into this, I'll discuss the load of the pistol. It's a 9x19. I got a Spear Gold hollow point here, 127 grain plus P. Kind of a hot little guy. And then here we've got a 10 round Hawaii legal magazine. This could be a 17 round magazine with the same size if we were in the great state of Wisconsin. And then we'll get this ammunition out of the way. It's safe to check the pistol so that we don't have any accidents and I don't blast you through the camera, right? So let's see, it's clear, chamber's clear, good to go. Well, let's start at the front of the pistol. As far as modifications go, the first thing I put on was a pair of night sights. And these are Meprolite True Dot adjustable night sights. I got them off Amazon, $128.99. That's what they cost today. And they've got kind of a high rise in the front and back. See if we can get you a sight picture there. There we go. Not too bad. The finish on them is not fantastic, unfortunately. I marred this up on the front side a little bit with some solvent when I was cleaning. I'm a big proponent of cleaning, but as far as an adjustable sight, this thing had been shooting a little bit to the left and to the right, and even after 1,000 rounds and dramatically readjusting my grip, I was unable to solve that. And since the majority of shooting done here in Hawaii is range shooting, in fact that's 25 to 50 yards is about my only alternative. Wanted to have it as accurate as possible, even if it's not a particularly accurate gun. So there's another look at the sights, and these are filled with tritium gas, so they do glow in the dark. See if we can see just the tiniest glow there, and it shows up pretty nicely at night. So the other major modification I did was putting this micro laser on. That's a True Glow Microtac Tactical micro laser. That was $105 off Amazon. And that's a green dot. We've seen that in the dry fire video. And I'll be honest, it's probably good for home defense inside the house, but any kind of daylight visibility, it's not going to show up great for any kind of distance. I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to test it out. Perhaps in overcast conditions at a shorter range it would be good. But as it stands now, it is a aid that I use for dry firing, as I discussed in the dry fire video, and I would say it was worth the money. I don't know if I necessarily needed to get a green dot for that, but it certainly improved my marksmanship and my follow through. Moving further back to pistol, we've got the takedown tabs here. We'll demonstrate the takedown in a little bit. There's the slide release. And when you have an empty magazine, that magazine will push the slide release up, the slide will lock back, and it'll let you know to add a new magazine. We've got a 10 rounder with some snap caps in it. Insert that. And you can either pull back on the pistol and let it go forward on its own, or you can press down on that with your thumb. rain going on right now. Hopefully that's soothing to you if you can hear it. Next up, we have the trigger. You can see there's a small safety on here, and if this is not pulled back, the trigger can't go back. It locks up against the frame. Right behind the trigger, we've got the magazine release right here. We'll eject that magazine. It's got a few more snap caps in it. And since we're at it, we clear this baby quick. Turn it over and let you have a look at the other side. See, we've got the extractor there. It's also doubles as a loaded chamber indicator. If that portion is sticking out, it lets you know that there's a round in the chamber, and if it's flush with the frame, then the chamber is not loaded. I wouldn't recommend using that as a surefire method because it only shows that something's in the chamber, not necessarily that the pistol is cocked. Now we get to the part of the pistol that makes it unique among Glocks. And for those of you who are familiar with them, you may have spotted this. It is these slide serrations are unusual, as is the texture on the grip. Now the Gen 3 had a much less aggressive texture than this. If we can move it up here, it's these tiny little nubs. They were, I believe, used for police forces. It really grabs your hand. This thing's not going anywhere, and the concern was that if you used it as a service pistol, as a police officer, it was wearing through the uniforms. You can see, we'll bring up the Glock 26 here, you can see in the 4th generation they went to these smaller pyramids that aren't quite as aggressive. And the next thing, since we've got it here, there's the Gen 3 Slide Serrations, scalloped ones, and then these are the straight ones that all modern Glocks have, and prior and subsequently to this model right here. And those Scalloped Serrations, I'm told, were no longer made because they were more expensive to machine, and they were not uncommon in the Glock 17s towards the end of the Gen 3 lifespan, and you can still find them available online, new in the box. 17s, the Glock 21, which is the 40 caliber, and then the holy grail, apparently, is the Glock 19, which is the compact version of the 17. And if you can find those, command a higher price. If you can find them with both the RTF2 grip, which is popular for competition shooting at this point, it's a resurgence, and then as well as with the scallop slides, just to make a gun that is very, unremarkable, a little more interesting, and have a little more physical appeal to it. Thanks to the magic of editing, we're going to take a quick trip to the Cocoa Head shooting complex. We're going to see how this thing shoots, and then we're going to come back here, have a look at the target, and see how I did, and then we're going to break down the pistol. So that's what you got to look forward to. The smell of gun smoke. Alright, well, that was certainly an adventure. This target probably says more about my accuracy than the accuracy of the pistol. As you can see, it's 25 yards. Not sure how many rounds that were shot at this. And my first groups were airing to the top right. So this is my first couple magazines. And then as I got more accustomed to the trigger, I was able to bring it in and hit towards the center of the target. So I'm pretty satisfied with that. I wouldn't consider myself a great shot by any stretch of the imagination. If I can do that, that's a pretty good day for me. I picked this pistol up in 2011 from a defunct gun shop, and I got a very good price on it. I got it at cost. It was $450, and they were just trying to get rid of the last of their stock, so that was a nice boon for me. It's the first pistol I've ever bought. I had had a break-action shotgun prior to that when I lived in Wisconsin for shooting bowling pins and just farting around. We had a good time with it. I think it was about a $90 shotgun back in 1999, maybe 2000. Yeah, that was a good time, but obviously this is a little more sophisticated monster. I've really enjoyed this over the years. I bring it back home with me on vacation, and yeah, it's good for shooting 12-ounce sodas. Had a lot of satisfaction blasting bricks with it. I'm looking forward to going shopping at Goodwill and seeing what sort of coffee cups and action figures and that sort of thing we can try out on, and hopefully nothing that makes too big of a mess. Aerosol cans, shaving cream, spray paint, and of course this is a champion paper shooter. I suppose if you're a goofball, you could use it for self-defense, right? It's a full-size pistol, so it's got a longer sight radius. It's easier to use in mechanical sights than your smaller pistols like the Glock 26, although this little guy, we'll talk about him in the future, he's got a slightly nicer trigger, so I tend to do better with that when I'm at the range, or at least comparable. And we'll see. In the future, I'll do some dry firing on this guy, and we'll try him out again and see if I can't make my next paper target look a little sharper, and we'll let the people decide, right? As for the reliability of the pistol, I think we're probably up to about 2,000 to 3,000 rounds for this thing over the lifespan of it. It's been a lot of fun, of course. I believe I was probably limp wristing early in its career. I've started making a list of any of the malfunctions any of my firearms have, just for curiosity's sake. My SR22 pistol will start to malfunction around 400 rounds without cleaning, but this guy, I've not had any problems with it since I've started the list, and I'd say that's a ringing endorsement as far as a reasonably priced pistol goes. Alright, as promised, we're going to break this thing down for cleaning. I pointed out earlier, we've got the Takedown Tabs here. Identical one on the other side. Now, in order to break down the pistol, you're going to have to pull the trigger. So let's double check this baby to make sure it's not loaded. Slides lock back, nothing in the chamber, nothing in the magazine well. Move the slide back to forward position. Pointed at my collection of floor tiles, pull the trigger. Move the slide back slightly and pull down on the takedown tabs, and then just push the slide forward. Frame comes off, and clean this portion as is. Pop out the takedown spring, or pop out the recoil spring. Pop out the barrel, and that's how we field strip the pistol. Reassemble. Do the process backwards. Barrel in. Seat it in like so. The recoil spring back in there. There's what looks to be two different shelves in there. You got to make sure you get it down on the second one. Once that's good to go, slide it back onto the frame. Lining up the tabs right there. All the way back, locks in place. Function check the pistol. Looks good. Pull the trigger when you hear the striker fall. There we go. Field stripped, reassembled. Now this pistol has been reliable, reasonably inexpensive, and I've had a lot of fun with it. But one of the things that keeps me coming back to Glock is not necessarily the pistol itself. There's plenty of other pistols out there on the market that are comparable and even of better quality, have better triggers. But get out of here, you. One of the biggest selling points is the magazines. Now you can use these magazines not just in the Glock 17. You can use these in the Glock 19. You can use it even in the Glock 26. And again, you can. This one is a 10-round capacity, but you can get them flush into the magazine, exact same size, with 17 rounds. And if you want to go lengthy, and there's this, and it's state legal, you can get 33-round magazines for the Glock 17. So, came for the pistol, stayed for the magazines. Alright folks, I think that about wraps it up. Thanks for stopping by to talk to me about the Glock 17 Gen 3 RTF2 with the scallop cut slide serrations in incredibly common 9mm. If anyone asks you if you know anything about the Glock series of pistols, now, like a true Renaissance man or woman, you can respond that indeed you do. You have a son, cousin, nephew, uncle, or some guy on the internet that you know who owns one. And as is the goal of the Renaissance man in the Northwoods, you're able to carry on a wider range of conversations on a wider range of topics and do so in an elegant manner. Thank you for joining me.
Well, it's raining pretty good here. As you can see, we've still got a little bit of green over there by my Thai basil. Why don't we spruce things up a little bit?